There's a strange psychological phenomenon that happens at Bangkok airport. Two foreigners can step off the exact same flight. They have the same budget in their accounts, the same luggage, and the same grand ambitions. They walk the same streets, eat at the same night markets, and look at the exact same skyline. Yet 5 years later, their lives look entirely different. One of them is thriving. They're healthy, clear-headed, financially stable, and move through the country with a genuine sense of peace. The other, completely broken, visibly aged, caught in a loop of alcohol dependency, financial anxiety, chaotic relationships, and deep, bitter isolation. If you spend enough time here, you'll realize this isn't a coincidence. It's a pattern. Contrary to what 1,000 digital nomad thumbnails will tell you, Thailand does not possess magical healing properties that automatically fix a broken life. For some, it becomes the ultimate freedom. For others, it becomes a beautiful, accelerated destruction. The truth is, Thailand acts as a psychological amplifier. It takes whatever is already sitting inside your mind and turns the volume up to maximum. If you arrive with discipline and self-awareness, the environment rewards you beautifully. But if you arrive emotionally lost, looking for a geographic cure to an internal problem, Thailand will quietly swallow you whole. One of the greatest illusions sold online is that moving to a tropical climate somehow alters human psychology. It doesn't. When you relocate across the world, you don't leave your brain at the departure gate. You pack it. You bring the exact same insecurities, the same unhealed baggage, and the same coping mechanisms. The only difference is that you've now unpacked them inside a high-rise condo in Pattaya or Chiang Mai, surrounded by cheaper beer and better food. Human beings will fly 6,000 miles to escape themselves, only to discover that their shadow took the exact same flight. Now, don't get me wrong, Thailand can drastically improve someone's quality of life. For expats escaping cold, atomized, work-obsessed Western societies, the shift is profound. There is a palpable energy here that the West largely lost decades ago. A vibrant street culture, genuine spontaneity, and a baseline of daily human interaction. It makes people feel visible and alive again. That's why the emotional attachment to this country is so fiercely intense. But long-term survival here requires a completely different psychological toolkit than simply surviving back home. So let's look at the foreigners who actually thrive long-term. Interestingly, they are rarely the loudest voices on social media. They tend to operate quietly, and they almost always possess a few specific traits. First, they possess a high level of cultural adaptability. They understand an obvious truth that many never emotionally accept. Thailand is not the West with palm trees. Stubborn people fail here. They arrive expecting the bureaucracy, the communication, and the logic to mirror their home countries, and they spend their days locked in a state of perpetual angry frustration when it doesn't. Thriving expats observe first. They listen. They realize that Thai society is deeply contextual, status-aware, and built on an intricate architecture of indirect communication. You cannot bulldoze your way through daily life here like an aggressive tourist who watched a few motivational videos and thinks, he's an alpha male. Thailand humbles those people very quickly, sometimes financially, sometimes socially, and often quite publicly. Second, successful foreigners are emotionally grounded. Thailand offers an intoxicating level of instant validation. If you felt invisible or undervalued in a Western city, suddenly finding yourself noticed, desired, or financially influential can completely distort your perception of reality. Emotionally mature expats enjoy the warmth of the culture without losing their equilibrium. They don't build their entire identity around the low cost of living, the nightlife, or temporary attention. They maintain an internal scaffolding, a routine, a professional purpose, and a strict level of self-respect. They realize that while Thailand grants you absolute freedom, freedom without discipline in a playground environment is just a slow motion
car crash.
Finally, they are financially realistic. The internet loves to market Thailand as a giant economic loophole where you can live like a king for pennies. But running out of money in your home country is inconvenient. Running out of money as a foreigner in Southeast Asia is terrifying. The ones who stay stable treat the economy with respect. They budget for emergencies. They don't flaunt wealth to overcompensate for insecurity, and they accept that paradise still charges real-world bills. Now, let's look at the darker side, the archetypes who completely collapse. This is uncomfortable to talk about because many people recognize a small, latent piece of themselves in these patterns. The first vulnerability is pure, unadulterated escapism. Thailand is a magnet for people running from something, a messy divorce, a stagnant career, loneliness, or aging. Now, there is no shame in wanting a fresh start, but if your entire relocation is built on running away rather than building towards something, you enter a dangerous state of dependency on the fantasy. When the honeymoon phase inevitably fades, and it always does, the exact same unresolved emotional issues resurface, except now you're thousands of miles away from your primary support network, dealing with a language barrier. Now this brings us to the impulsive personality. Thailand offers incredibly cheap, frictionless access to dopamine, whether it's nightlife, alcohol, or instant relationships. The feedback loops are immediate. For some, with poor impulse control, the guardrails are completely gone. I've watched people arrive within 12 months, completely drain their life savings, destroy their physical health, and alienate everyone who cared about them. And the terrifying part is how slowly it happens. It masquerades as an extended holiday, a fun adventure, until one day they wake up emotionally bankrupt. The environment didn't ruin them. It simply removed the friction that was keeping their bad habits in check back home. Then there is the quiet crisis of loneliness. Modern Western society is producing an unprecedented number of isolated individuals, particularly men. When a lonely person enters a culture that is highly polite, welcoming, and possesses a massive hospitality and nightlife economy, their judgment easily clouds. Desperation makes people blind to obvious red flags. They mistake commercial transactions or superficial compliance for deep emotional connection. Because when you are emotionally starved, even artificial affection feels like a lifeline. That is the heavy, unspoken reality beneath the surface of the tourist zones. It's often not driven by simple hedonism, but by a profound, agonizing desire to feel seen. Now, the final archetype that predictably crashes is the ego-driven foreigner. These are the individuals who arrive with an implicit sense of superiority, viewing the country as a personal amusement park designed for their entertainment. They treat locals with condescension and assume money makes them untouchable. But Thai culture possesses a quiet, resilient pride. It is an incredibly forgiving society in many ways, but it keeps an impeccable internal score. Arrogance here is rarely met with immediate confrontation. Instead, the culture simply recedes, allowing the foreigner to make a catastrophic mistake entirely on their own, whether legally, financially, or personally. And by the time they realize they've crossed the line, the trap has already sprung. Ultimately, this isn't an indictment of Thailand, it's actually a testament to it. The internet will continue to pitch oversimplified binaries, telling you that the West is a hopeless dystopia and Thailand is an effortless utopia, but real life doesn't fit into a 16:9 thumbnail. Geography cannot manufacture internal peace. A palm tree cannot fix a fractured psyche. Thailand is easily one of the most fascinating, culturally rich and vibrant places on earth to build a life. The humour, the warmth, the daily chaos, and the sheer human scale of living here are unmatched. But it demands a heavy toll in the form of self-awareness. If you come here looking for an illusion, the country will eventually break the mirror. But if you arrive with humility, a genuine curiosity to learn the language and customs, and the discipline to govern your own freedom, it might just be the best decision you ever make. Because in the end, you don't just discover Thailand. Thailand forces you to look at exactly who you are.